Respected academic Professor Jonathan Jansen has weighed in on the school's reopening debate, suggesting the risks possibly outweigh the benefits. He's also quoted as saying the Basic Education Minister can't dictate academic terms to a virus. Naturally, the department has taken umbrage, calling Jansen a crafty wordsmith. This comes as President Ramaphosa says the National Command Council will relook at the opening policy of schools. Professor Jansen joins us now on Lunchtime. Professor, good afternoon to you. First of all, we are getting indications that the National Command Council this afternoon is possibly re-looking at the policy of reopening schools. Do you take some solace from that?
I do, and I also take solace from the fact that the major teacher union, SATU and NAPTOSA, have also taken a very firm line, and that is they need to protect their teachers, and that reopening schools is not only about children, important as they are. It is also about those who teach and care for them. And so, yes, I'm hoping the Command Council will do the right thing. It turns out, Jeremy, that it's now outside of the hands of government. You cannot open and close schools with a government gazette. It is being closed down by the virus as teachers get infected, kids get infected, and some fall ill and die. So the reality on the ground is that a lot of the schools are not functioning at full or sometimes even 50% capacity. They close themselves down because of the virus.
So as far as the Basic Education Minister is concerned, do you think she jumped the gun then with the full reopening?
You know, I understand the dilemma. If you're head of government or, or responsible for education as a bureaucrat, as a politician, you'd like to see things go back to normal as soon as possible. This is Mr. Trump's dilemma. Let's just pretend there isn't, a massive spike in infections and hospitalizations, and the problem will just go away. The dilemma South Africa faces is, as you've seen in other parts of the world, when you reopen, whether it's a restaurant or a school, while you're still climbing the peak of a pandemic, my goodness, people are going to suffer, and you make things worse. Now, schools are congested places. You've got 1,000-odd people in one place. And if you know anything about schools, you can't social distance, for long, certainly not with kids. So I certainly hope the Command Council takes a hard look at the reality on the ground, because, as I said, the virus might close them down, not the minister.
Professor Jansen, if you believe the academic year then is, to all intent and purposes, done and dusted, what is going to be lost in terms of teaching, in terms of the curricula, if the year is effectively written off?
So I don't believe that saying that schools must be closed is the same thing as saying that education must stop. We have to find other ways of doing it. Now, it turns out that if you're in a well-to-do school, online learning is already happening simultaneously with face-to-face teaching for the kids who do show up. In the case of the majority of our children, it's really easy to resolve this thing if you have dedicated channels on radio and television, and also dedicated print materials that enable that learning to happen in accordance with the CAF's curriculum against publicized, scheduled times for specific topics. This can be done. Is it ideal? No. Is it possible? Yes. So education must continue, but cramming people into a school is dangerous while you're still not peaking in terms of coronavirus infections.
So are you saying we need more creative thinking in that respect, or more funding?
You need both. You need creative thinking. You need people to imagine what the curriculum could look like, both in the analog and the digital environments. And that's going to take an investment of significant funding. But if you do this right, you're able to sustain it into 2021 in case the coronavirus exists in some mutant form, or, God forbid, there are other epidemics or pandemics in our future.
Just a final one. Are you brushing aside the criticism? The department says, and I quote, "You're a crafty wordsmith who's wanting to drive home a point that seeks to turn public sentiment against a hard-working minister committed to finding effective solutions." It's getting a bit snippy, isn't it?
Listen, I don't belong to a political party. I have no interest group behind me. I have absolutely no interest in anything other than the welfare of our children and, yes, the welfare of our teachers. But no, I find it extremely childish to engage in these kinds of personal attacks when all you want to do is to give the best expertise you have for government to consider in their decisions.
Professor Jonathan Jansen, thank you very much.